My name is Robert Swan, and I am the first person in history to have walked to the North and South Poles. And today my mission is the preservation of the Antarctic, the inspiration of young people around the world, and let's say they need some hope, it's rather a gloomy place right now, and also helping companies really engage their employees on this journey we're all on towards sustainability and good leadership. Leadership is, I think, perhaps the most important part of any company. And leadership does not just mean that you're the leaders at the top, whether that's a lady or a man right at the top. Leadership is about every single person in the company. And I think authentic leadership really counts today because there's so many words, so many podcasts, so many ways of looking at leadership. But leadership really is about leading yourself properly. And if we're not leading ourselves as people as best we possibly can, then who can actually take us seriously? So being authentic, being honest, being straightforward, I think is a really important part of leadership. And our story, as when we're walking to the North Pole and the South Pole and doing all the things that we've done, you've got to be authentic. There's no space for being fluffy, that's for sure. I think in a world where often we think that we're being relevant, it's worth having a relevancy check, because it's a bit disturbing to think you're being relevant, wake up one day and you're no longer relevant. So I think it's a good thing, as we've done many, many times on our journeys, are we being relevant? And have a check on that regularly, because that's good leadership, to stay being relevant. And that might not just be for our companies and our teams, it could be actually at home. It could be to the people who love us and we love them. Are we being relevant in that situation? I'm the youngest of 7 children, and I realised fairly early on in life that the reason that people annoyed me, especially my family, is that because they were right. And I think that's something one's got to take on board as a leader on a team, to have the courage to choose people for your team who are different. Don't choose people that all say yes, because most leaders are told what they want to be told. In other words, people say things to a leader and think that's what they want to hear. Don't listen to that. Listen in between, and make sure that you choose people who challenge you. And for example, 5 of us once lived in a hut in Antarctica, 4 months of total darkness. For 9 months, no communications, no laptops, no Netflix, nothing for 9.5 months. And to be honest, we didn't like each other even in London, because I chose very strong, different people that had brilliance in their own areas. It probably meant there was a bit of friction, but we were a very, very strong team. And if we weren't a strong team, I would not be sitting here now, I'd be dead. I think that resilience is possibly rather an overused word, but what we had to do is to face things that seemed impossible. Often major setbacks, major difficulties, and actually walking to the pole every day is a major difficulty. You're walking 9 hours a day, 7 days a week for 70 days in a row. You're going to lose off your body 69 pounds, over 30 kilograms in body weight. So it's really hard from day one. And what I learnt on those journeys, as far as keeping going, was to knock things down. You know, a lot of us have these goals that we look ahead to. We've got to perform to a certain level. We've got to hit certain targets. Well, often that can seem rather overwhelming. And walking to the pole, if you start thinking about getting to the South Pole and it's 70 days ahead, you won't get there. So I learned to knock things down and take them in bite sizes to say, well, okay, it's not a bad day. I'll just think about the end of the day when I'm going to have that chocolate bar, or I'll think about a cup of tea in an hour's time, or just each step as you're going. Don't get too overwhelmed in the target that lies ahead. And also realizing that as a leader, it's often not a bad idea to exercise some servant leadership. In other words, you get to a moment where your skills as a leader aren't possibly relevant to that moment. Don't always try and lead. And it's really inspirational for other people on your team to realize that you're in support of them, that you're not trying to micromanage everything, you're not trying to lead every single moment, but to actually trust each other and trust other people to take things forward and not look over people's shoulder and criticize them. And I think that really helped us overcome some very difficult times, because people really felt like, wow, okay, well, Rob's there, he's in support of us, let's just get on with it. And that was very inspirational, not just to me, but to the other members of the team. And keeping going it's a very hard thing. You can get pretty depressed and low and think, why am I doing this? I've had some terrible injuries making these journeys. You know, hips exploding out of my leg and all kinds of very hard things. But I've always kept some sense of saying, okay, we made this commitment and we, not me, we are going to deliver on it. I would not like to be 18 years of age today, with all the negativity through social media that besieges young people today. I really feel that we should offer them some hope. If I was a young person, I looked at the news, I possibly would think just, well, what's the point in bothering? The climate's gone, we're all at war, forget it. Well, that's not a message that we should allow to go out. So in our own small way, between myself and my son Barney, who's replanting the oldest rainforest on the planet in far north Queensland, Australia, we try and deliver positive, good news and solutions. I've never met anybody who's inspired by negative. So we try in our own small way, working with companies, working on our own to deliver positive, really good messages for young people. And I think from a company point of view, that what we offer is that idea of, if I'm coming to do a talk and present to the company, why not whip round the corner and give a lecture to the local school? I think that's an important addition that I like to bring to the table. I also feel that companies are beginning to realize that good young people do no longer want to join a company simply for the check at the end of the week. Good young people are saying, right, we would like to be part of a company that is really doing the right thing, beyond any greenwash, really authentic, good stuff that a company's doing for sustainability, for society, for diversity, for inclusion, for people less well off than we all are. I think people really want that when they want to join a company, and people in a company want to feel that the company's doing the right thing. So I am a great believer in supporting retention and recruitment in a company through positive action. And I think that's an important thing 20 years down the road for now for any company. For any talk I do, I think it's very important that you leave the audience and don't walk out the door and that's it. Bye. Really nice to come and give a talk, and I hope everybody enjoyed it. What do you leave behind? And I think what's important is obviously to leave hope and inspiration and some tips on teamwork and leadership and all those things. But we've been working now for 33 years on the preservation of Antarctica. in the year 2041, only 17 years from now, the treaty that protects Antarctica, right now we all own it, no one can destroy it, and I think we should leave it alone. And that mission was given to me by the late Jacques Cousteau from France, and we've worked very, very hard on that. So what we leave at the end of my presentation is that sense of, wow, we could be part of this. We could help. Not every day you get the chance to be part of saving a continent. And so we give people our little education program, which is free of charge for 5 to 11-year-olds. All kids love penguins, and it's fantastic. So we leave that. And also a sense of every team that one speaks to, you've got old people like me, and then you've got the youngest people in the team. And our story is all about intergenerational too. So my son and I have taken on some pretty hard journeys in Antarctica together, and we've managed to achieve those journeys together as father and son, relying on each other. I have to say my son possibly helping his rather annoying father more than I help him, but we've made those journeys together, so there's an intergenerational story as part of this. And what Barney, my son's doing, is very inspirational, replanting the oldest rainforest in the world in far north Queensland, Australia. He's doing something that's positive. And I think that's a nice, I don't really like the word takeaway, but it's a nice thing for people to go away with, and it doesn't cost anybody any money to have those things. The other thing I really enjoy doing in my visit to an event is to possibly have the chance for the CEO to interview me on leadership issues. So after the main talk, maybe the CEO later in the day or just afterwards could interview me with some of his or her issues on leadership and get my take on them. Or speak to the head of CSR for the company, and that person, he or she can then interview me on my take on sustainability, the environment and the engagement of employees and which direction the company is taking. I think that all those things put together make something very special to leave something more than just the talk.